Hey everybody, in this next video lesson, we're going to cover the two learning targets. The first one is what is matter, and the second learning target is I can define terms related to matter. Chemistry is defined as the study of matter and energy. Now we're going to spend a majority of our time this year talking about matter, and a little bit of time talking about energy, but most of the time talking about matter. Now what is energy? Well, energy is anything that you can't touch. It's light, it's heat, is electricity. We can't touch energy, but we can see how energy affects the world around us. What is matter? Well, it's anything that has volume and has a mass. So let's first talk about volume. Now, volume is a commonly misconceived idea that volume is a quantity. That is not in quantity. If you go to the store and you want to buy a 2-liter bottle of soda, well, you think 2 liters. Well, that's the quantity of liquid that I'm going to be buying. But in fact, volume is defined as the space that is taken up by that object. So whenever you're buying things in liters or gallons, if you're using the imperial system, you're really measuring or buying things in the amount of space that it takes up in the three-dimensional world. The instrument that we use in chemistry to measure volume is called a graduated cylinder. And I will show you how we use graduated cylinders to take accurate measurements here at the end of this video. Now, if you ask the everyday person what's the difference between mass and weight, they really won't be able to come up with a clear answer. Maybe you know this because your science teachers have drilled it into you for the last 10 or 11 years while you've been here at school. But in science, we know that mass and weight are not the same. Mass is the amount of matter that is contained in an object, and we measure mass in grams, whereas weight is the amount of gravitational pull on the object, and we measure weight in science in newtons. Now, you won't know or learn much about newtons in this class. That is very much a physics concept, and you will learn about newtons at great depth next year when you take physics. Now, you might have heard the old fact that the weight depends on which planet you are on, and that is totally true, because the gravitational pull on Jupiter, for example, which has a larger gravity than Earth, your weight would be much heavier. Whereas if you are subject to a lighter gravitational pull, like on the moon, and for the record, we did totally land on the moon, despite what some conspiracy theorists think, then your weight is less on the moon because there's less gravitational pull. Now, good news for you, we live in an electronic age where we have electronic balances, where we no longer have to use the old 3-beam balance in order to take masses of objects. And I will also show you a little video clip here at the end on how to use our electronic balances. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a graduated cylinder. A graduated cylinder is specifically made to measure the volume of a liquid. Now, in order to measure the volume of the liquid, we need to take a look at the level of the liquid inside the cylinder and use the lines to figure out what the volume is. Now, the first thing that needs to happen is we need to get that volume down onto eye level. Now, as right now you can see it's slightly above eye level, so we need to lower our level of our eyes so that we can look basically horizontally at the level of the liquid. Now, you'll see also that the graduated cylinder has a meniscus. The liquid creates a little concave surface, and we always want to measure from the bottom of the concave surface. Now, what I have here is a little piece of paper with a black background, and I put it behind the liquid. And what it does is adds a little bit of contrast between the background and the actual liquid itself, which allows me to more accurately measure the level of the liquid inside the graduated cylinder. Now, we will spend more time later in the year talking about how to accurately take a measurement, but for now, I just wanted to show you a graduated cylinder and briefly describe how we take a measurement using it. This is an electronic balance. It takes the mass of any object that you place onto the metal plate in the middle. Now, a couple of the buttons on the balance are important. First off, you need the on-off button, obviously, that powers it on or powers it off. But the other button you want to pay close attention to is this button called the 0 or the tare button. Now let's say, for example, you had an empty beaker on your balance. But you didn't want to actually measure the mass of the beaker itself. Rather, you wanted to measure the mass of what you put in the beaker. Well, you put the object on the balance and hit 0, and now it's going to zero out the balance so that it's not taking into account the mass of the actual beaker. Now you can place the substance inside the beaker and it will measure the exact amount of grams of that substance, not including the mass of the beaker itself. It appears as though this piece of paper is 0.37 grams. The only thing is, if you ever need to take another measurement now without the beaker, you need to re-zero out your balance before taking in any measurements. Otherwise, you are not going to have the correct mass. Well, that takes care of this video lesson. Thanks for watching.